Indian Constitution. Constitution 12 Amendment Act 1962. Actually, by which of the following amendment of the Constitution Goa amended and were incorporated in the Indian Constitution? 12th Amendment. 101st Amendment. 101st Amendment. 101st Amendment 16 2016 GST Good and State State Good and Service Tax Act. Parliament of India enacted quite a few GST acts in the year 2017. A central good and service tax, integrated good and service tax, a good and service tax, not state goods and service tax, fall in this category. Which of the following constitutional amendments state that total number of ministers, including the prime ministers, total number of ministers, including the prime minister in the council of ministers shall not exceed 91st amendment 15% ministers of the house prime ministers shall not exceed 15%. It provided on not less than 12. It provided in legislative assembly. It provided one third total seat in the house people, the legislative assembly or every state. Legislative assembly of the national capital territory of Delhi to be reserved for women 15 years. Above provision are provided by 106 amendment. 106 amendment. Which of the following amendment to Constitution India introduced reservation in the education policy and public employment for people from economically weaker sections? So 102 amendment. 4 pillar state from 3 from district magistrate for India were suggested by the concept of 4 pillar state. Ramamanohar Lohiya. District magistracy for India was suggested by the following statement regarding constitutional amendment. The procedure for amendment to Constitution is provided Article 368. A bill to amend the Constitution can be introduced in either House of Parliament. The Constitution can be introduced in either House of Parliament. The special procedure in Article 368 vests Constitution power. The special procedure in Article 368 vests constituent powers upon the ordinary legislation. A bill amend the Constitution can be introduced in either House of the Parliament. Article 368 bill to amendment the Constitution can be introduced either House of the Parliament. A bill to amend the Constitution can be special procedure in Article 368 vests constituent powers upon the ordinary legislation. Power upon the ordinary legislation. Procedure provided Article 360 Constitution Amendment. A bill to amend the Constitution can be introduced in either House of the Parliament. Actually, good governance and e-governance, principle of good governance, initiatives for good governance, challenges to good governance. Right to issue in India, Right to Information Act 2005, right to children to free and compulsory education, LGBT rights in India, LGBT right, public policy in India, Law and public policy, structure and types of public policy, evolution of public policy, structure and types of public policy, law and public policy, public policy. Actually, who term public policy as the relationship of the government unit to its environment. Robert Easton as the relationship of the government unit to its environment. Robert Easton, who says that public policy is whatever the government chooses to do or not to do. Kautilya, who says that public policy is whatever the government chooses to do, not to do. Who term public policy as the relationship of the government unit to its environment. Robert Easton, who states that public policy is not decision, it is a course of pattern of activity. Robert Easton, public policy not decision. Whatever the government chooses to do, not to do. Public policy is whatever the government chooses करे. Decision, it is course of pattern. Robert Easton said whenever the public policy in India adopted a mixed economy, 5-year plans, Niti Aayog, competitive federalism, agriculture and industrial development. Consider the following statement about the nature of public policy. Public policy are goal-oriented. Public policy is what the government actually decides or chooses to do. Public policy making is a complex process. What the government actually decides or chooses to do. Goal-oriented. IRDP stands for the Integrated Rural Development Program. The following are true about public policy. Public policy are goal-oriented. Public policy is the outcome of the government goal-oriented. Outcome of the government collective actions. Government collective action, public policy. Public policy is outcome of the government collective action. Goal-oriented. Public policy is the broad direction to the decision. Broad direction. Both bada. Which of the following are the type of public policy? Substantive, distributive, regulatory. Substantive, distributive, regulatory. Organization of the pursue the common interest of the groups of people by attempting to influence the making and implementation of government policy. Interest groups. Organization that pursue their common interest of groups of people. Government policy are known as organization that pursue the common interest of the groups of people attempting to influence the making and implementation of government. Interest groups. common interest of group का common interest. People by attempting influence the making and attempting implements करने के लिए common policy. Interest group. This theory assumes that the government will be influenced by the various interest groups and will not be biased for against any of these groups. Government will be influenced by the various interest groups. Various interest groups and will not be used for against any of these groups. Pluralist theory. This theory assumes the government will be influenced by various interest groups, will not be biased for or against any of these groups. Pluralist theory. A public interest group pursue policies that they believe will provide you what to society. Collective benefits. A public interest groups pursue policies that they believe will provide you what to society. Collective benefits that they believe will provide what to society. Collective benefits. Policies that they believe will provide you. In order to effective in influencing government policy, interest groups require influencing government policy. Interest group require money and expertise. In order to effective influence group policy, public interest groups pursue policies that they believe will provide what to society, collective benefits, and money and expertise. In order to effect in influencing government policy, interest group require government policy के लिए interest group require a money and expertise. Reasons. Actually, interest groups are labeled as interest groups are ineffective because they generally don't have enough popular support. Interest groups are ineffective because generally don't have enough popular support. Interest groups are effective only when they have large number of members. Actually, interest groups are effective only they have large number of members. Interest groups are effective only when they have large number of members. They are ineffective because they generally don't have enough popular support. Interest group with formal structure established membership base and paid staff is commonly known as institutionalized interest groups. Formal structure established membership base and paid staff is commonly known as institutionalized interest group, which means the of influencing public policy is generally seen as ineffective by interest groups and those who analyze them lobbying members of a parliament, which means the influencing public policy is generally seen as those who analyze them lobbying members of parliament. When relevant minister hold a news conference to announce the government intend to introduce a new policy implementation. When a relevant minister hold a news conference to announce the government intent policy implementation. When a relevant minister holds a news conference Government intend to introduce new policy implementation. Lobbying members of parliament, lobbying, generally seen as ineffective, and those who analyze them, which means influencing public policy, generally seen as lobbying groups. Which of following correct? Actually, good governance. Legal relation authority is core concept of legal relation theory of a bureaucracy. E-governance is e-governance is cost efficient, transparent, time saving, responsive. E-governance cost efficient, transparent, time saving, responsive. E-governance means cost efficient, transparent, time saving, responsive. E-governance, the aspirational district program launched in January 2018, transforming lives of people in the underdeveloped area, transforming anchored in Niti Aayog. The program is aimed anchored transforming one five most backward districts. Niti Aayog program, special districts focus intervention in the field of health and nutrition. Focus intervention in the field of health and nutrition. Good governance assures on equitable society. Good governance, equitable society, and people should opportunity to improve, maintain their well-being. Maintain their well-being. The study of government decision making, the analysis of the policies, various inputs that we have produced them, and the inputs necessary to produce alternative. Public administration, the study of government decision making, analysis of the policies themselves, the various inputs have produced them, and the input to necessary produce public administration. Which one of the following leadership styles was identified by Michigan University Leadership Studies? Employee centered leadership. Which one of the following leadership styles were identified? Employee centered leadership. According to WF Willoughby, which of the following are correct about the essential of a sound promotion? Adoption of sound specification, standard specification, setting forth the duties and qualifications required for position in government service. Following is correct actually. According to WF Willoughby, which of the following are correct about the essential of a sound promotion? Adoption of a standard specification, setting forth the duties and qualifications required for all positions in a government service. Classification of all positions into distinct classes, grades and service based on duty classification. And industries within this classification of all the administrative positions except those having political character. Classification of all positions into distinct classes, grades and service based on duty classification. Which are the following leadership styles? Inclusive within the classification of institution, except those having political character. Classification of all positions into distinct classes. Service based on duty classifications. Which of the following reports deal with the relationship between the specialist and generalist? Fulton Committee report. Formal relation of the relation sambandh organization is based on rules regulation. Formal regulation rule शासन नियंत्रण. The office of the ombudsman like institution in the form of parliamentary commissioner for administration in the United Kingdom was set up recommendation of which one of the following report? Sir John Wyatt report. Which of the following was not identified by the Santhanam committee as a major cause of corruption? Administrative delay and scope of personal discretion in the exercise of power. Cumbersome procedures. Cumbersome procedure. Weber's model of a functioning government. Weber's model of a functioning government. Government must employ skilled expert. People must be treated equally. Functioning government. Skill expert. During which part of the public policy cycle does the government explore potential? Policy response. Policy formulations. During which part of the public policy cycle does the government explore potential policy? Policy formulation. Government explore potential policy to policy formulation. A network of groups are individuals that seek major social and political change, who act outside of the established political institution. Social movement. A network of groups are individuals who act outside the established political institution. Social. କେତେବେଳେ ଯିବ କି? 8:30 ତ 9ଟା ପରେ ଯିବାନି ତୁ ପିନ୍ଧିକି ବସୁନି ଆଉ 9ଟାରେ ଯିବି ପିନ୍ଧିକି ଆଉ ସେ ପଠେଇଲୁ ମୋତେ set of groups and individual